Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Holly Shaw, the chair of the NGO Committee on Mental Health, probably for not much longer because we're much overdue for an election. I'd like to introduce two of the officers who are here, Dr. Elaine Congress. Elaine, you might want to wave our vice chair, and Dr. Felix Torres, our corresponding secretary, who is managing the logistics of this event. I'm glad that you're here. We have some outstanding presenters who are also exceedingly busy on World Mental Health Day. They're each traveling, but they felt that they could be with us to present. But we haven't admitted them yet. So we're going to start with one of our presenters, Mazin Mukhtar, who is the founder and co-director of Akshar Foundation, which is an educational and mental health NGO located primarily in Guwahati, India, with programs elsewhere. And the foundation started, I always refer to it as the little NGO that could, like the little engine that could, that so many of us read to our children. It started as a small, uh, pretty grassroots NGO, and now has had consultative status with the ECOSOC, the Department, the Economic and Social Council, and has a real worldwide reputation with a great amount of notoriety and acceptance, both in the private sphere and the public sphere. And it gives me an enormous amount of pride and pleasure to introduce to you Mazin Mukhtar, who's going to tell us about the program, especially how they integrate issues of mental health into their programming and their one-to-one services. Mazin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Holly. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here today to talk about Akshar Foundation. We started the school originally targeting children in child labor conditions in a small village in India. We noticed many of our students were missing school. This is after, we went to great lengths to get them admitted into school. Um, the reason being parents are sending their kids to work. Typically, they send boys to go work in construction or some kind of labor, and they send girls to work in people's houses as household help. So we had to do a lot of work to convince the parents that, it's better if you send your kids to school. Now, then we came face to face with the economic realities that these families face. They need income. They need, income to buy basic needs. So we devised a program called Learning and Earning, where we would essentially give jobs to these child laborers in school. Um, the main job being the older kids tutor the younger ones. Uh, Now, we do everything through this framework because these low income situations, that there's hardly enough teachers to teach regular classrooms, let alone offer mental health support or that kind of one-on-one support that children need. So we thought maybe we can train and employ the older kids to tutor the younger kids, but not just provide tutoring, to be mentors for them, to provide all kinds of psychological support and mostly encouragement, just encouraging them to keep going. So let me just share a quick overview video. We were fortunate to get a lot of coverage in international media like BBC and World Economic Forum. And then that got the attention of the Prime Minister, who also gave his endorsement. And because of all this attention, we're now able to work we're in over 70 schools in India that have adopted our model. And we're starting our expansion to Ethiopia and Kenya this year.
For 25 Akshar School in Guwahati provides its students free and holistic education. A solution that was meant to tackle the abject poverty of children has now built an inspirational model of education fostering sustainability and equality.
भारत और वेस्ट टू वेल्थ की बात आती
So in addition to tutoring, the students are employed in the school, doing various tasks, including plastic recycling. Plastic is a big problem in India and in this village, where we uh, see people. Essentially, the custom is to just drop your plastic wherever you are. If you've finished eating a packet of chips or something like that. And then, every day or two, somebody sweeps up all the plastic. And in the winter, they'll actually, throughout the year, they'll burn the plastic to just get rid of it. Or it'll be dumped into a local stream or just crowding the landfill areas. In the winter, they will burn the plastic and sit around it and actually huddle around for warmth. And then we get reports of headaches and different health problems that come from burning the plastic. So, in addition to tutoring, we started this recycling center at our school, and that's actually what got the most attention internationally. But for us, the main program is the older kids tutoring the younger kids.
है तो हमें देश के
This
कोने
is the
कोने
Prime
से
Minister of India
अनगिनत उदाहरण
giving
देखने को
a
मिलते
long
हैं।
endorsement,
असम
which I'll
के
skip through.
कामरूप मेट्रोपॉलिटन डिस्ट्रिक्ट में अक्षर फोरम इस नाम का एक स्कूल बच्चों में सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट की भावना भरने का, संस्कार का एक निरंतर काम कर रहा है। यहाँ पढ़ने वाले विद्यार्थी हर हफ्ते प्लास्टिक वेस्ट जमा करते हैं, जिसका उपयोग इको फ्रेंडली ईंटें और चाबी की चेन जैसे सामान बनाने में होता है। यहाँ स्टूडेंट्स को रिसाइकलिंग और प्लास्टिक वेस्ट से प्रोडक्ट बनाना भी सिखाया जाता है। कम आयु में ही पर्यावरण के प्रति ये जागरूकता इन बच्चों को देश का एक कर्तव्यनिष्ठ नागरिक बनाने में बहुत मदद करेगी।
Tell you a story about a unique school on the outskirts of Guwahati that is bringing in a paradigm shift in how schools are run. Founded by a young couple with the aim to bring children from poverty-stricken families to schools, the Akshar school in Pamohi has not only reduced dropouts, and it has helped to stop child labor as well. Here, poor students earn while they learn, and believe it or not, the tuition fee in school is only accepting plastic waste. Here's Ratndeep Chaudhary with a special report.
Akshar Forum School is now mandating that students pay for tuition in plastic waste.
थैंक यू जी, ये रखिए आप।
ये क्या है?
प्लास्टिक।
प्लास्टिक नहीं चलता, रोकड़ा, मनी मनी।
अरे लेकिन ये तो चलता है।
यहाँ नहीं चलता।
यहाँ नहीं चलता?
बिल्कुल नहीं।
लेकिन आसाम के एक स्कूल में तो चलता है।
क्या?
हाँ, आप ओएमजी मेरा इंडिया देखते हैं?
बिल्कुल।
हाँ, तो चलिए आपको दिखाते हैं कि आसाम के एक स्कूल में इस प्लास्टिक के बदले में बच्चों को क्या मिलता है।
That plastic is recycled by our teenager students to make eco bricks from the plastic, and those eco bricks we use for different kinds of construction. Like we have made a planter at our school. We are also building pathways connecting the classrooms, and in future we want to build a toilet with the eco bricks.
I can say and write what I did this morning.
एक और ओएमजी वाली बात ये है कि यहाँ के बड़े बच्चे छोटे बच्चों को पढ़ाते भी हैं।
This is our favorite example to show because these two boys are both orphans. They're not getting the support that they need at home. They're not getting the school support they need at home. Forget about emotional support. But with this approach, we can make sure every young child is getting this one-on-one interaction And we've seen tremendous benefits for the older student as well, who's delivering that care. They become better students and just better citizens in their communities as a consequence of this program. And they're earning a little bit of income. We don't pay cash; they earn points, but it has cash value. They can exchange the points for real life products.
Before apa? Before hati. Elephant. Elephant apa? Elephant. Good. C for apa? Cat. Cat dia. Good.
The goal was to create a school that would teach the conventional subjects, math, English, science, but combine that with vocational training so that they learn valuable job skills.
जैसे कारपेंट्री, एम्ब्रॉयडरी, फार्मिंग और गार्डनिंग।
फिक्स करेंगे और भाव करेंगे कि
Holly, how am I on time? Okay. Just want to show one more case. This older boy was he came to us about age 13. We're not even sure of the ages of the children because they don't most of them don't have birth certificates or any kind of documents, which is a problem because they're not really counted in government statistics for out of school children. But that's part of the holistic services that we offer at the school is getting them enfranchised, getting them their documents. So this boy's about 13 years old when he came to us. A lot of signs of antisocial personality, random acts of violence. On his first day, he slapped a younger girl who was disrespecting him. And we tried a number of things to try to socialize him, but this approach of employing them essentially, learning and earning, that had the most dramatic effect of any kind of approach that we tried. So at first he couldn't even teach the alphabet or anything. He didn't know enough, but we could convince him that if you learn a little bit, we'll start to employ you to tutor the younger kids, and that was a tremendous motivator for them. Not just in terms of making money, but in terms of having value, some kind of status in their community as a teacher. They're really tutoring, but we have them refer to themselves as teachers or student teachers, just to get that psychological impact to multiply that. And they only tutor for half an hour or an hour a day, but it's enough to transform their attitudes throughout their school day. So they get paid according to two main criteria. One is how much do they know? So the more we say, the more you learn, the more you earn, or learn more to earn more, which is another powerful motivator to them. If you're teaching a child how to trace or how to count, you'll earn X amount of points. But if you're teaching algebra or Shakespeare, you'll earn far more. So it becomes a very powerful motivator for them to excel in their own studies. Something we often, I heard a lot in school is kids asking the teachers, what am I going to use this for? But that's not an issue here because they know that I'm learning this so that next week I can teach a younger kid and I can earn from that process. So one criteria is how much do they know? The other criteria is how effective are they as teachers? So they do a monthly self-assessment with supervision from the adult teachers, where they ask themselves questions like, am I a good coach? Am I supportive? Am I nice? Am I, empathetic? Am I tracking the progress of this student? And this exercise in self-reflection has also been very impactful to the psychological state of the teenagers.
Square, rectangle, circle, triangle.
Circle.
Good.
And they're taught to give positive feedback to a kid. And even if they make a mistake, just say, good try. Here's how we can correct it and do better next time. But yeah, this is a kid who was getting into fights, smoking, drinking, into drug use also, and into selling drugs from a young age. But we could, get these dramatic social changes in them by using this approach. And
Mazin, what is it like to take a child who's never been in school before and has worked in construction or the rock quarries and needs to now restructure their life, conform to rules that they haven't had before, and begin the complexities of the learning process as well as the socialization process in terms of the other children and the teachers, which they're not used to?
Yeah, it's a difficult process, and they tend to act out. So my feeling is, in the conventional school system, you would be grouped by your age. So this, 13-year-old coming into the school and first of all, he wouldn't even do it because he doesn't know enough to keep up with kids his age, and they don't have a system in place where each child would be treated as an individual, a separate individual. In our approach, we assess each kid individually, and they're placed into the appropriate level no matter their age. But that's not the norm. So this kid would end up, in a class where he's not able to understand or keep up, and then the behavioral problems would just multiply from there. Our feeling is, kids act out when they're feeling out of place or feeling alienated. But yeah, when we had the financial, so when we first started, we didn't have this learning and earning approach. We tried like detention, we tried timeout, things like that. Even for this boy who violently struck a younger girl, and that was not effective at all. What we see in public schools in India are teachers using corporal punishment still, with rulers and sticks and things like that. But even that's not as effective as the economic system that we've kind of brought into the school. So as soon as we tied it to their earnings and it became like a job for them, the behavioral problems disappeared pretty much immediately. We don't have issues of bullying or fighting or any kind of misbehavior in the school because if you do break any rule, it comes out of your points, your salary. The same way as adults, we get a fine if we break any minor laws. But so yeah, that's been very effective. Once they start to see the school as a job, it's the behavioral problems disappear instantaneously, basically.
And how long does it take generally for them to not only catch up academically, but socially with their peer group?
Socially is almost immediate. Academically, sadly, most of them never do catch up because once you've missed that early development, by the time you catch them up to a fifth grade level, their peers are already in eighth grade. And then that jump from primary school to secondary school to middle school and high school is really uh, too challenging if you don't have the fundamental knowledge. Elaine, you raised your hand. You're on
You
mute.
need to unmute,
I know.
Elaine.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Okay, unmute.
That's it. Yeah.
No, now we can hear you.
Good, great, thanks. Okay, well, first I want to, commend you, Mason. That sounds like a wonderful program. And I have thought for the older child, it's really important. He's very isolated himself. And that's part of the reason he's turning to drugs and hanging out with these other kind of bad influences, because he's an orphan himself. And I think this gives him like an important role and makes him feel like part of a family, in the fact that he's able to help this younger child. So that's very important. But I guess my question though is about how this point system works. So they don't get paid money, but they get points, and they can use these points to buy things. Maybe you could just help me understand a bit by explaining more about how this works. And is it really the equivalent of like a salary?
Well, we try. They would earn far more by doing manual labor. But we try to somewhat compete with that, and we can convince parents to send their kids to school instead by explaining to them that, yes, they'll make more money working at the stone quarry, but they'll be at a fixed income their entire lives if they're not in school. But with our approach, they'll keep increasing their earnings year after year. So that was necessary to convince them. We did try at first giving cash to the kids, and we found some of the kids' parents, a lot of the kids' parents are alcoholics and unemployed. So some of the parents were taking money from the kids as soon as they made it. So instead, essentially the school buys the products for the child. So let's say they're saving up to buy a pair of shoes. Now, most of the time, what they're trying to get are basic essentials like basic clothing items, shoes, sandals, hygiene products, school supplies, and food. But essentially, instead of giving them cash, which also, we're concerned if we give them cash, they might go buy cigarettes or anything like that. So instead, they have this virtual banking system. They keep a timesheet on paper, and they input all of their work. So if they're doing teaching every day, they get X amount. They do office assistant work, so they will print the worksheets that are used for classes. They'll do farming. They'll cook food. They do first aid. So when a kid gets injured, one of the students who are trained in first aid will go and get the first aid kit and patch them up, and they'll earn some income from that. Then they input all of the things that they did to serve their school each week, and it's approved by a teacher into this software. And it's kind of like a banking tool, but they can accumulate and save their points. And then every week or so, we have the school. We have like a Friday shopping day, where they can buy products. They can buy products from Amazon, and essentially the school buys it for them and then deducts the points from their account. So it also becomes a really powerful exercise in learning financial literacy, which these students and their parents are severely lacking in, and causes a lot of mental health problems in their lives.
We think of this as a program far away for such underserved kids, but around the same time that you were starting this, Mazin, I remember And Elaine, I agree with you that it's such a positive way to bring kids into the fold and um, decrease their social isolation and increase the socialization. And I was working on a violence prevention project in New York City with several schools. And we were looking at reducing violence among kids who had been victims of violence, then witnesses and perpetrators. And there was one kid in particular who had a great deal of difficulty controlling his rage when people would be had a certain look in their eye. And we kind of tracked it to trauma that he experienced as a very young child being beaten by the stepfather. And he remembered a certain wild look in the stepfather's eyes. And one day he attacked a kid who was not a threat to him at all, a smaller kid, not a violent kid. And this boy, his name was Anthony, was terrified. No one could really understand that. And he was really trying hard. And one day they were using a ball and tossing a ball around the classroom to see who would get to speak. And Anthony just walked in. At the same moment, the ball was in motion and he was hit in the head by the ball and he went into a rage. The next day or so, I went to the school to see him and I was told he had been suspended. And I said, suspended? What do you mean? And they said, well, he threw this ball violently. He acted out. We have a zero violence policy, and we had to suspend him, and we haven't seen him since. And I said, of course you haven't seen him since. This is the only place that he felt connected and he felt that he belonged, and separating him from this environment as a punishment is not going to be helpful. And the principal said, well, what would you suggest? And I said, have him sleep over. I mean, he just needed more socialization, not less. And it was frustrating that our systems in the US are set up in reward and punishment and using isolation and social humiliation and not having recess as a punishment when that's probably a kid who really needs to run around and socialize. And it seems so completely backwards and not in the service of any of the children or any of the schools. So I watched the development of this approach with a great amount of curiosity and enthusiasm for how much sense it makes and how easy it is for us to understand how this is the right way. You're not condoning negative behavior, but you're really focusing on not only rewarding but incentivizing the positive behavior. And I think if you look around here, we have incentives for outstanding kids to attain more and more and more, but we don't really incentivize and help motivate kids who don't have those natural gifts or those resources at home. And then we so quickly and easily see the mental health issues just fulminate. And so I think this is so exciting. And now you guys have the experience to really validate how well this has worked in your setting. How is it doing in the public setting now that the Prime Minister is endorsing this in the government and public schools?
It's going well. We're shifted focus to training government teachers. So we're not interacting directly with children anymore. So that's been a kind of a shift for us. But yeah, we're seeing great results for the kids. And it's not just the older kids teaching, but the vocational training. Most of the difficult kids, they struggle academically, but they're good at other things. They're good with their hands. They're good, maybe they're good moving their bodies. They're good at sports. So if you can find ways for them and treat it with the same seriousness as academics, find ways for them to do things that they excel at, it takes away a lot of the alienation. Adam, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just curious regarding kind of screening and trauma. Adverse childhood experiences is getting or has been getting a lot of attention in the United States. And one of the things we're noticing is, given kind of the rapport, are you able to build trust where students are more comfortable talking about trauma or acknowledging that they have experienced a traumatic experience and you're able to provide services? Or is there a stigma attached? Because just kind of curious, as now you're kind of getting them into the system, or is it better now able to integrate them into other systems of support?
That's such a great question, Adam. I'm so glad you brought it up because, Mazin, I would love for you to describe some of the experiences of community trauma and trauma within the community in that regard also.
Yeah, it's pretty horrific. There's pretty much any, like, you can pick any one of our kids' homes and you'll find some kind of severe abuse, a lot of sexual abuse. Um, but yeah, it's exactly what you said, where because our school is more than just a school, it's kind of a community center, it's an employment hub. During COVID, it became a food relief center, and we employed our students to go around and deliver food to houses and look around their neighborhoods, find houses where there is food insecurity, point it out to the teachers, and then work with the teachers to deliver food rations to them. Uh, so any crisis, we try to turn it into a learning exercise and a kind of job training activity for the students.
And sorry, within, are you primarily like your geographical range? I know some mapping of India, of Delhi, of, other cities. Is this primarily functioning or active more in urban, outer urban, post, structure system of where? Because I imagine every state's different, funding, resources, and capacity, capability to provide services. Are there those that are more of a template versus others that you see, overperforming compared to those underperforming?
Yeah, we work in rural schools and urban schools. We've recently started working in Mumbai, uh, but yeah, you're exactly right. The context in Mumbai. So we're working in the Dharavi slum, which is a famous slum from that movie Slumdog Millionaire. Uh, it's the biggest slum in Asia. We're working in three schools there, and yes, the context there is very different from in rural Assam, where we're also getting great traction. I guess what we're looking for now is just teachers that are ready to accept our help. In Mumbai, they have, 80 kids in a class versus in rural Assam, they'll have 80 kids in the whole school. So the challenges are very different. But we do see, for instance, the Mumbai kids are much more industrious when it comes to vocational training. So they're into learning cell phone repair. They're um, uh, yeah, just overall more ambitious. Uh, but regarding the community trust point, uh, we did eventually get to the point where the students are coming and telling us about sexual abuse or missing children. Uh, there was a case of one girl, not our student, but she was the sister of one of our students, and uh, our some of our older students noticed that she was missing, like they hadn't seen her in a few days, and they had the wherewithal to come and tell us at the school. And no other school would even bother to look into it, but we did eventually get the police involved, and we were able to recover this girl who was being trafficked through a grooming scheme. And it's literally grooming. Like they actually clean the hair and put them in nice clothes and wash them and all of these things to be sold into mostly household slavery, but could also be sexual slavery if she was unlucky. So there's a few cases like that where we've been able to get the girls out of situations. Uh, uh, and sadly, there's really nowhere to put them because there's orphanages, but those are not very well. They're not getting great attention there either. Uh, but one of our star children, girls who wanted to be a doctor, came and told us that she was being abused by her stepfather, and we had to send her away. And now she's doing great, but she's no longer with us as a student. But she's safe. Another girl was being prostituted by her parents, and she uh, felt enough comfort to talk to us about what was going on. So yeah, when you get directly involved in their lives beyond the academics, these things can come to light, and we can take steps to address them. So yeah, it is our belief that we can safeguard uh, um, children with a more holistic approach to education.
Mazin, could you mention in that context the community education you did around the community participating in the grooming or the identification of vulnerable kids to the traffickers and what you did about that?
Well, the uh, the parents of our students were not a problem. They have been conditioned over the years to understand our view of children, and that we don't look the other way when this kind of thing is going on. But the norm in these communities is for most people to either look away or to directly be a part of it. So when we were trying to rescue one of these girls, we faced opposition from the neighbors in that community because they were getting a cut of the money that the father made from selling the girl. So there were death threats against our people, and so we had to get enough police presence to bully the community into allowing us to get this girl back and to cancel the whole trade. And the people in the community are also threatened by the gangs that are doing this kind of trafficking. Uh, and the girl that was sold, her mother had died. Her father was a terrible alcoholic. So the kids weren't getting food. They weren't getting they were totally neglected. They were in a disheveled state. So the community members thought, oh, you know what? They're better off being sold off somewhere than starving on the street. So it's just kind of like terrible scenarios, one way or the other, like a no-win kind of situation, and you're just trying to find the least terrible situation for the kids. Um, but our hope is that, you know, um, in these communities, most first-time parents are, 14, 15-year-olds. Our students have delayed that. We've, successfully kept them from having children at a young age. We have girls that are 18, 19, and they're getting their diplomas and going to school. But, you know, we create this nice, harmonious school environment, and then at the end of the day, they go home to this nightmare. Uh, and that's why we have a situation where anytime we close this, like we don't have a summer vacation. If we do close for a few days, the students protest. Like the students are the ones complaining if we have if we close the school, because it's their only place to be seen and to be treated as full human beings. Uh, So yeah, I'd
Schools are
say
like that
is
also. During COVID, there were many kids who were at much greater risk for all of these adversities because the schools were closed and the schools had been for many vulnerable kids in underserved communities the first place of support for an individual child or the family, as well as food, which, often kids get in schools, they get fed, and not only education but all of the other, even social determinants of health. So in our country also, when the schools are closed in the summer and certainly during COVID, we're still not caught up in terms of educational attainment, but also emotional and mental health issues.
yeah, for sure. The COVID lockdowns were a big blow for children, especially for our kids who we were trying to get them to catch up to the kids who are doing well in the system, and then all the middle class, upper class kids, they have laptops at home, they had online classes, they had so their learning could continue, but our kids and kids who go to public schools in the global south, they were just left out, of that process because they don't have those resources at home.
Mm.
So yeah, that was a big blow for us. I would have liked to see schools stay open, but I mean, the issue is the safety of the teachers more so because COVID wasn't, um, affecting kids that much, except they would spread it around and then take it back home. So
Mm.
I don't know what's that was probably the thing we had to do then.
Mazin, how are there differences in the different socio-political, geographical areas like Ethiopia, Kenya, and I know that you were looking at programs in the US. Are your assessments different? Are there major differences in those communities and the way the educational and mental health aspects will be promoted in those other countries, or is it very much the same?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we get a program going in America, we could have like peer counseling be and we're starting that in India, like training the older kids on how to be a mentor and a counselor for the younger kids. Here you have like Big Brother, Little Brother kind of programs. But yeah, if we could train older kids to be kind of therapy coaches for younger kids, I think that would deliver a lot of benefits for that older student and a lot of self improvement and self knowledge from that process. Um, but I think the issues are universal. Like I said, if we're working in Mumbai versus rural India, it's a totally different situation. We have to adapt the model to each context a little bit. But the basic idea is the same, that teenagers are yearning for a sense of belonging, a sense of relevance in their schoolwork. Uh, and when you do give them a chance to serve their communities, and actually we take the kids that are, more troublesome or causing more issues, and we give them more work to do, more responsibilities, and that tends to solve the problem. Uh, so yeah, I think America has big problems with alienated youth, and I think that's part of why most of the mass shootings we see are at schools and not at, you know, shopping centers or Costco's or anything like that. There's something wrong in the schools. So our feeling is if we can get a program like this and have this community engagement from the teens, um, you wouldn't have this level of alienation that's going on. And the same for Ethiopia. So in Ethiopia, I was there twice this year. I didn't see a single piece of litter on the street. So, plastic recycling is not going to be a big part of it, but having the older kids tutoring the younger kids will still be the heart of that. Um, Donna, you have your hand up.
Oh, Donna, good to see you. Please unmute.
Yeah. Okay. This is a very interesting topic to me because there's a whole lot of research on cross-age tutoring, which is what you're saying. And the places that you're going, many of them already have cultures of communalism or collectivism. So these things have a tendency of working. Now I've heard of a program in India using that same each one teach one principle. And I wanted to know if that was this program. That's one question. I have experiences with working with each one teach one in the Caribbean, and it worked very, very, very well. My experiences with working with it in America is different because of the amount of bias and the idea that it's like teasing children, bullying is more acceptable. You know, it's more acceptable, I think, in the States than it is perhaps other places, even though it occurs, it will occur after school, outside of the school environment. But in America, it occurs in the school. And the last thing I wanted just to ask you is, what about the youngest children, those grade 1 and grade 2 children? How did they cope? And was peer tutoring able to help them? Or did you feel like they may have needed peer mentoring, sorry, was able to help them? Or did you feel like they would have needed, something else? That's it. Thank you.
And Mazin, could you also talk about how you handled bullying, especially in the beginning, and also a different kind of racism that you experience in terms of caste and also colorism among the children?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to get to that. Donna, your first question was about other each one teach one models. I'm familiar with a few in India that are active. It's an old idea. The government has this peer learning. They call it peer learning. We avoid that because they're not peers. They're cross age, as you said. The only difference, as far as I know, is I'm the only one, or we're the only ones that I know of that pay the kids for this kind of work. And in our experience, you'll find kids that are happy to do it, just essentially from playing like they're playing as teachers. They're happy to do that for a while, but every day, year in, year out, and it becomes a little bit untenable, and they lose motivation. So our feeling is you need that economic incentive. As for the young children, the young children are the ones that benefit the most because they get this daily one-on-one time with an older kid. I think for children, the most valuable, like attention, is more valuable than gold. And a lot of our kids, young kids, you can tell have not gotten even 10 minutes of focused attention in their entire lives. It's just not happened. And because the parents have many kids, many jobs, their own mental health struggles. So
and it's a different culture. Children are given far more responsibility than any child in the United States. So it's a different, you're not you grow up faster, if you will.
Yeah, so often the eldest sibling is kind of a second mom in the home. And we will pay that elder sibling for tutoring that they do at home as well. When they bring their evidence of the work, we give them some points for that. So our hope is that in the long run, we have a bunch of young boys and girls who can impart this what they've learned about teaching and about child development with their own children, because parents should be the first teacher for children.
Absolutely.
So there should be a generational benefit to this approach. Holly, you were asking about the
bullying in the school, especially in the early years, and also is Donna referred to racism and the different kinds of racism, although racism in terms of caste differences and also colorism that your kids experience.
So bullying vanished pretty much immediately. Our explanation is that bullying comes like when you have sixth graders beating up on fourth graders in the traditional school system. They're all vying for attention from adults essentially, and it's attention is a scarce resource. So the children see each other as rivals, becomes like a little jungle on the playground. But it's not like that in our system because the older kids see the younger kids as a potential source of revenue. Like I can make money from tutoring this kid. So they're all like the older kids are competing to show the teachers who's the most empathetic and who's the most effective teacher. And eventually they come to take pride in showing off the achievements of the younger kids. Like they'll say, "Oh, sir, look, I taught her how to do long multiplication." And you know they take ownership of the accomplishments of the younger kid, and then you know that brings them pride and benefit.
I'm sorry, where in India are you located? I would love to go and visit you. Where in India are you located?
So our headquarters is in Assam, which is in the northeast, but now we're working in schools in Mumbai and Varanasi and one other state called Madhya Pradesh.
Any of southern states, Southeast Asia, Southern Asia? I mean,
No, not yet, not yet. But one day we hope to get there. We're not in the south of India yet.
Let me know when you get to the. Let me know when you get to the southern India. I will.
I'll be there too.
You're
One
welcome
question.
anytime.
Sorry, weaving into the kind of diversity cultural, given that India has a 10% Muslim population, which is still 120 to 140 million people, and kind of the challenges of services and relationship with the government. Is there any capacity, because you said you primarily work in public schools, is there any relationship with madrasas or anything within that Muslim world, or is this kind of this is working with the Hindu students or the open public schools? Can we be integrative, or are we welcomed into those spaces or not?
So most Muslim kids don't go to madrasas. Okay. Most Muslim kids are in regular schools. The madrasas are, as far as I understand, independently operated by like Islamic councils. So if they reach out to us and invite us to work in a madrasa, we're happy to do that. But our current agreement is with just the regular public schools of the government. But there's we interact with many, or I'd say probably a third of the students are Muslims. We've seen schools where they offer Arabic classes. I'm Muslim myself, by the way. We've seen these public schools, which they're not Hindu schools, they're secular schools. So there's secular schools and then there's these religious schools. And I imagine there's like Catholic schools too, but there are more madrasas than Catholic schools. But we've seen in the secular schools, they have Arabic classes. If there's enough students, the government's obligated to teach Arabic so they can read Quran and things like that. So I've not seen issues, or I've not seen terrible issues when it comes to Muslims. More so what Holly was referencing, which is casteism. We have seen kids from lower castes being bullied by the parents of kids from, honestly, they're not even higher caste. They're all basically in the bottom caste, but within that, there are sub-gradations, which
Mazin, could you just explain a little bit of that for some of our attendees who might not be familiar with the idea of a caste system and how it works?
yeah, so traditionally the Brahmin caste were supposed to be the only ones educated. You know, literacy was kind of withheld from the remaining groups, and that caste idea is really deeply ingrained in India. There's this kind of idea that like if your father was a janitor, then you should be a janitor. Like that's kind of deeply embedded into the system. Uh, Most troubling we've seen is from teachers who tend to be from higher caste, even though they're not very rich. So caste can sometimes correlate with income, but not always. Uh, but they, will complain about having to teach kids from lower caste because part of their religious belief or what they were taught growing up was, these kids aren't supposed to know how to read anyway. Uh, and it feeds into a mentality they have there, which is that, okay, if these kids are competing for the same jobs as my kids, that's a problem. So it's seen as like a zero-sum game where if I'm helping these kids, then my kids will suffer. And added to that, you'll see most of the public school teachers send their kids to private schools. There's very few that we've encountered of public school teachers that send their kids to public schools. So there is a deep problem with caste. It's so deep that when Indians go to America and work in tech companies, they're still applying the same caste ideas in promotions, and so there's policies in place at Facebook and Meta and Google and all these places that are specifically preventing or aiming to prevent upper management people who are from higher caste from suppressing the careers of lower caste people. So yeah, it's very deeply ingrained, and it's been kind of a consistent challenge in the work. Not just from teachers, we've had parents who are from slightly higher caste go and bully other parents from lower caste, saying, "You shouldn't send your kids to my school. My kids are going to this school. Your kids are too low status to come to this school." And then basically we have to go out into the community with, not me, my wife, my Indian wife, or my Indian mother-in-law will go and kind of scold these. In this case, it was women. So it was good to have the scolding come from someone who's older than you and your same gender. It feels more familial. But yeah, she had to do a public scolding, public shaming of this kind of behavior. And then they learn basically that we're not playing into these tropes. It's very easy because the word spreads among the community very quickly. They understand where we stand on these things because we take a firm stance. And then we go out into the community and boldly express those ideas. And then mostly the problems go away as far as the parents of our students are concerned. When it comes to teachers in public schools, we can't do anything about that. Like they're tenured, and we don't want to interfere in that at all. But we just try to explain to them that there's a different way of doing things.
Mazin, among the children that you've had for a long time now, since very early childhood, what kinds of changes have you seen among the parents, or have you, in terms of their parenting, their supportive education and schooling, and also their involvement in the school, and what happens in school life? Have you been able to see changes there?
Yeah, I mean, when there are times where we come into conflict with the community, we do see that the parents that we've been working with for a long time will stand up and defend our view. so, if one set of parents is trying to get their daughter married off because they saw her dating some boy, and we come in and express an opposing view, yeah, it's helpful to get all the parents on board and supporting us and ready to speak out. We have a lot of like health workshops, different events, cultural events, religious events at the school, and bring in the teachers. Uh, we employ, sorry, the parents. We employ some of the parents whenever, if we have some construction job or something like that. They understand that we're there to care for the community and we're on their side. And then when we need that backup, they're willing to chip in. So yeah, that's been most of our experience. We do have some parents that complain about our methods at first. Now there's not much because there's so many kids that are trying to get into the school. But one criticism we might hear from parents is, okay, you're teaching like farming and carpentry, which is not all. Oh, we also teach office, like computer work and first aid and nursing and these things. But we don't believe that learning carpentry and farming are like low status professions. But there are some parents who think that, we want our kids to be a lawyer or something like that. I mean, we don't have the heart to tell them that your child can't read at grade level, so they're probably not, unless there's a big change in their trajectory. Law school might not be the number one plan for them. So it'll be good if they can learn a trade or as backup. We don't say you can give up on your dreams or anything, but it's good for even if you're you want to be a doctor, it'll be good to learn how to fix a car or how to cook food or things like that. And there used to be this kind of approach to education in the US, and I think we're going back there now with all these chat GPT and AI basically taking over the intellectual kind of work. Whereas if you're a plumber or a mechanic, I think you have more job security nowadays than a low-level lawyer. But for the most part, yeah, parental support's been very strong. Donna, you have a question?
Yeah. My other question, you said that you work with different members of the caste system. Do you have any programs that specifically deal with the Dalit population, that untouchable, quote unquote, untouchable population?
No, sometimes we do like plays or like an awareness activity, but no, we don't first of all, we basically in the school there's just we an assumption that caste doesn't exist. So our approach would be more like if there is a kid who's been mistreated for being from lower caste, we'll give them more status in the school, more I mean, they have to earn it, of course. But so there's a lot of sexism too, for instance, that women are seen as less than. But in our school, we elevate the girls. You know, they can achieve as much as any of the boys and more sometimes. And so yeah, and we just focus on creating opportunities for them to shine, and but we don't necessarily have like specific classes or segregating them based on the groups. Like let's say we wanted to do some program about discrimination against Muslims. My feeling would be separating out all the Muslims to talk to them separately and talk to the Muslim kids separately would just add to the problem more so than creating an environment where they know for sure that everyone is equal and No one's going to get preferential treatment.
Very interesting. I would love to continue this conversation with you via email. If you, I don't know if you have an email address that you can drop.
Yes, I will do so.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Are there other questions, or we have a few minutes left? I'm so glad, Mazin, that we had enough time to really hear you fully. I wonder if there's anyone who would like to just comment about World Mental Health Day and just about what's going on in our current state of affairs, in our intergovernmental kinds of issues and conflicts, and just a kind of catch up. With the intention that we're going to get back on the ground again. We have a schedule of meetings. We'll have an executive committee meeting very soon. Felicitas, I saw you there. I wanted to introduce you also as an important member of our board. But is there anyone who wants to ask a comment, ask a question, or just comment on what things have been like around whatever mental health issues you're dealing with before we close?
Thank you for mentioning me, Holly. As you know, I'm on board with you in any way, shape, or form. So, but I like to share today is a very important day aside from World Mental Health Day, because Maria Corina Machado, who is a leader in Venezuela, won the Nobel Prize, and we are so very proud of. She received it in such a humble way that in our country we have so much violation of human rights, and this, to call attention to this today is really amazing. We're all, elated. Finally, we have some good news, like.
Yes, I thought when I heard of it, honestly, Felicitas, you were the first person I thought of, was how proud and happy you must be. And I'm so grateful for that, because I know that you've had such angst for so long about what's going on. So,
and I still have it. And I still have it, and I'm ready to go back to Venezuela ASAP when things are allowed, because the country is in the middle of, hopefully we'll make a big breakthrough. I hope so. So I'll be there, hopefully. So, and with you also. I'm happy to, I don't know when you're having your executive meetings, but I'm happy to see you back on board. We love you a lot, and I think it's a very important organization, and we're ready to work together in whatever subject we choose. We decide to work on. Yeah.
Good news. It's nice to see you, and thank you for that. Tomorrow, also October 11th, is the International Day of the Girl Child. That's where a lot of our members are today at the UN. But there are going to be some activities, and there are many of the events, the recent events have been archived, and you can go to YouTube or UN TV. It's, kind of a dismal place around there. We don't have the news like we had today about our Venezuelan colleague. We don't have that much good news going on around the UN, and there are many changes and many adversities that many people, communities, and even governments are experiencing. So tomorrow, in whatever way you celebrate, it's always October 11th is the International Day of the Girl Child, and really an opportunity to celebrate girls and the kinds of changes we've been able to accomplish, but more importantly, I think the kind that we're all committed to see happen. And at the UN, the Girls Speak Out is a very powerful experience in real girl power, and being able to accomplish things that previously have been kind of unimaginable for girls and therefore for women. So there are things that are going on, although not as much in person as there used to be. We will be having meetings monthly. I have a schedule, And then just to remind you that March 9th to the 20th is the Commission on the Status of Women. And that's a yearly event. It's a mandated intergovernmental meeting that occurs at the UN that there isn't space for all of us to attend. And so the NGO CSW New York plans a series of parallel events. Last year, there were 750. And the call is going to be coming out very soon, probably in the next week. The number of in-person parallel events is going to be extremely limited because the venues just aren't available. We used to have probably 5 venues around the UN where events were occurring. And last year it was only 2, the Church Center and the Salvation Army, sometimes the Baha'i, but they would be planning their own. And so they're going to be extremely limited. And there will be a lot of opportunity for virtual parallel events. And you don't have to be an NGO that has consultative status in order to host a parallel event. So I would really encourage you to each kind of think about what your NGO would like to do, what you might be planning to do, and if you'd like to do an in-person or virtual event, probably in collaboration with other groups. We will certainly be doing one somewhere between March 20th, March 9th and the 20th, but it's something definitely to think about. I'd like to thank Mazin. And Mazin, I'm not sure if you're still there, but it's Mazin's birthday today. And he changed his schedule entirely and gave up some exciting plans in order to spend time with us. So I'm certainly delighted that he did that. I'm sure all of you are also. He's such a wonderful resource and a wealth of knowledge and experience about the integration of mental health in school age and adolescent children. So I thank you all for joining us. Are there any other questions or concerns or issues that we want to discuss? We certainly will be meeting next month. I think the date, one of our speakers can only make it not on the 14th, which is the second. Usually we're on the second Thursday, but on the 20th. And then we'll have ready for you a schedule for the rest of the year of meetings. We've been hoping to do it in person. Most people seem to want virtual, and in person is very hard to manage because of the lack of space and venues that are available to us. That's been a real challenge. If anybody knows of any place that would host us. The other advantage of doing it virtually is that we are able to really engage a global audience, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But I think each of us senses in some way that we miss something by not being together in person. So it's certainly challenging, and we'll just have to make do.